Since WWE transitioned into a PG product in the summer of 2008, they've been reserved in showing any form of intergender wrestling on screen. If any male versus female physicality does take place, it's usually very limited, but during the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era, intergender matches could be seen all the time. WWE have produced some downright wild and insane intergender matches that you won't believe took place. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 of the wildest intergender matches in WWE history. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new channel, Wrestlelamia Shorts. Number 10, Tess vs Mei Young. Now in 2003, WWE had run a segment which highlighted how power had corrupted Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff. In the segment, Bischoff would reveal to legendary Mei Young that she was going to wrestle a match against our former Intercontinental Champion, Tess. As the match was about to begin, Stone Cold Steve Austin would introduce the special guest referee, Scott Steiner. Steiner and Tess were feuding at the time, and when Tess saw Steiner coming to the ring, Tess did the unthinkable. Tess would knock down Mei's friend, the fabulous Moolah, before delivering a devastating pump handle power slam on Mei. Fans were stunned at the time that Mei took a bump of this nature, and although the match was declared a no contest, praise was offered towards Mei for being willing to take a major bump and showing that even in 2003, she was still one of the toughest talents to ever lace up a pair of boots. Number 9, Stevie Richards vs Jacqueline. During the build to the 2002 Armageddon pay-per-view, WWE had featured a match between Stevie Richards and Jacqueline on Raw. This match was a true showcase of Jacqueline, who showed fans that she could go toe-to-toe with Stevie Richards. Richards would end up getting the win via an underhook DDT in a brief match, but the match clearly opened the door for Jacqueline to work more intergender matches in WWE. In 2004, Jacqueline would enter a feud with Chavo Guerrero over the Cruiserweight title and would even win the title. Jacqueline was a vastly underrated talent in WWE, and it was only appropriate that she was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame back in 2016. Number 8, ATrain vs Stephanie McMahon. One of the rivalries that dominated SmackDown in 2003 was the feud between Vince and Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie was the general manager of Raw, but her unbiased, fair approach to things wasn't going down well with her father. ATrain would get the win when he performed a corner slingshot splash, and the match with ATrain would be the final time Stephanie would wrestle a male wrestler in 2003, as she would wrestle Brock Lesnar on Raw as well as Vince McMahon in an infamous I Quit match at the No Mercy pay-per-view. Number 7, Chyna vs the Two Stooges. Chyna entering the 1999 Royal Rumble was a huge deal. Chyna was set to be the first woman in WWE history to enter the prestigious match, and they would heavily promote her involvement on the episodes of Raw leading up to the show. To promote Chyna's appearance, they would book her in a handicap match on Raw against two wrestling legends in Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe. The match wasn't exactly a wrestling clinic, and it did feature some spots which have aged terribly, but nevertheless the match was a showcase of Chyna, and she would get the win by DDTing both men and then pinning both of them simultaneously. Chyna would go on to have a number of intergender matches throughout the Attitude Era, including matches against the likes of Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero. Number 6, The Big Show vs the Fabulous Moolah. On November 28, 2002 edition of SmackDown, the Fabulous Moolah would get the opportunity to wrestle in her hometown, but there was just one issue. Her opponent was the reigning WWE Champion, The Big Show. Big Show's villainous manager Paul Heyman ordered Big Show to treat Moolah like she was his arch-rival Brock Lesnar, and this led to Big Show getting set to chokeslam Moolah before Lesnar thankfully made the save, declaring the match a no contest. Lesnar and the Big Show were then brawled before Lesnar performed an F5 onto the Big Show through the announce table to bring that week's edition of SmackDown to a close. Number 5, James Ellsworth vs Becky Lynch. The SmackDown product in 2017 was heavily criticized by fans. Following an unbelievable 2016 for the Blue brand, 2017 struggled to keep the momentum going, and pushes for the likes of Jinder Mahal and Baron Corbin resulted in fans turning off the show for good. Another element of the show that didn't exactly go down well with fans was the presentation of James Ellsworth. Ellsworth would become an associate of Carmella, but Ellsworth had a ton of TV time devoted to him, and this resulted in his segments often overshadowing Carmella's character work. Ellsworth would also step into the ring during this time, and on one occasion he would actually wrestle Becky Lynch. This took place on the November 7th, 2017 edition of SmackDown, and Lynch would end up getting the win by locking her in the disarmer. Things went from bad to worse for Ellsworth as Carmella would super kick him after the match, putting an end to their partnership for an extended period. Number 4, 3-minute warning, destroy the lesbians. Whilst never having an official match with female talent, a 3-minute warning were involved in a number of segments in 2002 which saw them destroy the opposite gender. One incident of this took place when Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff ordered Rosie and Jamal to destroy 2 females who were taking part in HLA. One of the women would be super kicked, whilst the other was taken out with a brutal looking pop-up Samoan drop. Jamal would then follow this up by performing a diving splash to the top rope. The 2 women involved in the segment deserve all the praise in the world for taking bumps of this nature. They looked painful. Number 3, Jazz vs Bubba Ray Dudley. Jazz is without question one of the most overlooked talents of the early 2000s. Her in-ring work has aged extremely well, and she wouldn't be out of place wrestling with talents of today such as Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. One of Jazz's finest moments of her career was when she wrestled Bubba Ray Dudley on Raw in 2002. Jazz would challenge Bubba for the hardcore title, and it was clear from the opening bell that Bubba simply wasn't treating Jazz as a credible, viable threat. However, when she introduced some weapons into the mix, Bubba's demeanor changed. Due to the hardcore title being contested under the 24/7 rules, the match saw interference from Stevie Richards, and it was Jazz using a shovel on Bubba Ray that allowed Richards to get the pin and become hardcore champion. Jazz more than held her own in the match, and this ended up being one of WWE's strongest ever intergender matchups. Number 2, Molly vs Crash Holly. Wrestling fans applauded WWE's decision to induct Molly Holly into the Hall of Fame in 2021. Her work continues to be celebrated to this very day, and Molly wasn't afraid to mix it up with men when the time came. This was the case in 2001 when Molly collided with her kayfabe cousin Crash in a match on Raw. The issues between the 2 cousins started when Molly began to date Spike Dudley, and with Crash not agreeing with this romantic decision, the bond between the 2 disintegrated. The match was short, but it highlighted just how good Molly was, and it also highlighted how unbelievably hilarious Crash Holly was as a performer. Molly managed to secure the win when Spike distracted Crash, allowing Molly to perform a trademark Molly Go Round to attain one of the biggest wins of her entire career. And number 1, Rhea Ripley vs Akira Tozawa. One of the things that's been present on screen since Triple H took over WWE Creative has been the inclusion of more intergender moments. Most of these have involved Rhea Ripley, as her work with Judgment Day has resulted in Ripley having physical interactions with the likes of Ray and Dominic Mysterio. On the December 19th, 2022 edition of Raw, Ripley got the chance to compete in an intergender match as she would face Akira Tozawa. The match unfortunately did feature several botches, but the crowd were into the match, and it was a clear sign that WWE should explore booking more intergender matches going forward. It was almost as if the match was an experiment to see how the crowd reacted to an intergender matchup, which is a smart way for Triple H and WWE management to determine fan interest. In the match itself, Ripley managed to get the win thanks to a Riptide in a very competitive matchup that certainly stood out on the stacked 3-hour show. But there you have it folks, 10 of the wildest intergender matches in WWE history. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.